What's going on, Rob?
This is good. I don't know why I'm all fired up. Sitting outside my chiropractor's office, and the way that I can do that is kind of a confusing story, which we're not going to get into right now. But it is good to see your face. Great to see you face to face last week. I guess that
Last week.
You met Dr. Daniel Halleck. I don't know why I have to say it that way, but you met him face to face.
That was good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we did a 10 tenets of kindness following a wild conversation that was really fun to do. And so I'm going to act like I was the one that came up with this. I'm going to push this deeper. And I know that the tenets of kindness, specifically to the kindness games, are an important set of 10 tenets. And so we're going to jump into those 10. I love this because we are flipping the switch. We're flipping the order. So I get to put you on the spot. Every time, all these tenets, you put me on the spot. And so no more of that, brother. Here we go. So we're going to jump right in. And so I get to sort of be the driving provocateur for this conversation. And these are the 10 tenets of leading with kindness. And we're just excited for how different people across the kindness games, wild leaders ecosystem will jump in. And when I say ecosystem, you're all invited. Like, just to jump into what it is that's happening. We're excited about this community. And so here we go. Are we ready to go? We're going to do the first two today. So the first two, Tim, are these. And I'm going to read your driving question if I could as well. The first one is our common humanity. And I'll save the second one for just a moment. Let's start with the first one. Our common humanity is the kindness games tenet number 1. And the driving question is this: what would our culture feel like if we were consciously recognized that we are all human? If it were consciously recognized, so that we are all human. Boy, you got my brain already going. What if we considered the human on the other side of each conversation? Can you imagine that? Every side, on the other side of each conversation, you say performance issue, negotiation, case, whatever you call it, right?
Yeah.
What if we embodied, Tim Wenzel embodied and championed the fact that we all have more in common than could ever separate us? That's
man. A lot of reading, man.
Light it up. It's good. Sometimes it takes words.
So here's the thing, right? Back in 2020, Lee Outen and I started the kindness games, along with Kelsey Carnell and Kekishan Dedwani, our other co-founders, and primarily in the security industry. And it was all security people that started, and now we are still security heavy, but it is almost equaled out by, do you know what industry?
I don't know. I'm curious.
Coaching and leadership. In a big part by WiLD, actually.
That's awesome.
There's been a ton of crossover, like you alluded to, but so in the security industry, people were telling us, come on, man, like, can't always be kind. And we started thinking about what is kindness, and we had to give kind of an operational definition of kindness, something that you could use as a guiding North Star. And so we came up with kindness is the endeavor to recognize the human on the other side of each situation in life and ask myself, how can I provide the best outcome for them? Notice I didn't say be nice. Notice I didn't say give them a good or a positive outcome. Some situations don't have a good outcome for somebody. Not one that they would consider good, not one that they would consider kind or positive. But we can still tailor each life situation, even the negative ones, to preserve their dignity. Right?
Yeah.
And so this is kind of what it gets to, our common humanity. There's so much division right now in the world, and we were thinking, how do we define humanity when we're being told that based on what you think, based on what you look like, based on your political affiliation, you have nothing in common with most of the world. Your perspective is so unique that there's almost nothing you have in common, which is an interesting thing to think about, isn't it?
It is. It is.
So we were thinking, okay, what does this look like, our common humanity, and how could we define it? And the more I thought about it and the more I talked to people, I said, I think we can define common humanity. We can define humanity across all cultures and maybe even all periods of time by this one statement.
Hmm.
We all have high aspirations and we consistently fail to meet them.
Hmm. Hmm. It's good. Can I riff now? There's just my
Please.
brain lighting up. So this word, I love it that you were asking this question about humanity, and um, I not to go all philosophical for a moment, but the word human fascinates me because uh, there, at its root, this kind of when we did this wild conversation a while back, like to be human, like it literally is from the root of from the dirt,
Yes.
and like the word humility uh is to lower oneself, like to to an actual state. And so it's interesting because some people might think that when we talk about human, we're talking about, oh, so I'm dirt, and it's like, no, but the reality is we struggle with our most basic way of being, like what is it that we are. And so that lowering was like so much of the world feels like it's propping people up, and sometimes artificially, as opposed to what I don't care where I've traveled in the world, I don't know about you, but the commonness in our humanity is both our aspiration for great things, our actual doing great things, but also, we talk about this a lot, also our brokenness.
Absolutely.
The common factor, and I don't it'd be interesting, but I think the common factor across human beings is that reality of this tension between the things that I'm capable of that are so amazing, and also the things that are either have pushed me down, or I've actually like made mistakes, bad mistakes that are on me. And I feel that most people, when they get honest, that vulnerability that's so hard to share, that so much of that lowering to the standard that we're all at.
And that's when it gets difficult to deal with people when they
Yeah.
disappoint us, when they don't reach our expectations, when they don't share our idea or our point of view. These clashes, these failures to meet our expectations, these disappointments are what create the conflict. And so if we're going to recognize that we're all humans and we have a common humanity, we have to recognize that failure and disappointment is a
Mm,
universal human trait. So why are we surprised by it?
mm,
Not to say we should expect it, but we should really change the way we think about it.
yeah, that's good. That's good. There's so much in that. I'm gonna push. Can I push on to number two?
Go on, man.
All right. So number two is holistic kindness, and the driving question there, um, that you all have articulated, is this: what if we realized that leading with kindness is actually the strongest, most engaging, and sustainable form of leadership available? What if we committed to engaging each aspect of our life in kindness? What does that break that down for me? Because I was thinking, what does it look like to engage each aspect of our life in kindness?
So it starts with recognizing our common humanity, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're going to have a holistic kindness, like one, what does that mean from
Mm,
situation to situation? And that's what the rest of these tenets get into, is kind of how to work on yourself to adapt well to these situations, to have a good perspective on these situations, right? But we start off by saying it's actually the strongest, most engaging, and sustainable form of leadership available, which is probably pretty controversial, right? Because there's so many leadership philosophies out there. Now, people are like, well, what about servant leadership? And as we talked with people in the HR world, as we talked with people across industries, and we were asking, like, how do you measure the effectiveness of leaders, right? I mean, we have like performance for your projects and performance for your teams, but how do you measure leadership acumen, specifically in how well they're able to engage and promote a healthy team dynamic?
mm, mm-hmm.
And most people we talk to say the lack of complaints, which is not being in trouble is not an indicator of success. Would you agree?
I would agree. Yeah.
So we were thinking, look, if you could take this definition of kindness, you could say, all right, I'm going to endeavor in each situation to try to give you the best outcome possible for the situation. One, you could measure that across people, even people that don't like me. Like, I don't really like Tim. He doesn't really rub me the right way, but he really does try to work well with people. In fact, it's obvious that he works to create relationships. He works to make sure that people are heard. He works to make sure that when you join his projects or he joins your projects, it's not just all about him and his team, but it's about the success and good outcomes for everybody, right? Servant leadership is another big thing that people say, like, oh, it's like servant leadership. But to be honest, you could have a really good servant leader and talk to their team and say, how well are you served by this leader? And they would think about, oh, well, what is he providing me with? And that leading with kindness is different, because you can actually say, he is engaging us. He does respect us. He does want us all to be included, and we all achieve good outcomes as a group. And so that's kind of where that's at. And that's why it's the strongest, most engaging, most sustainable form of leadership, in my view, because when you lead with this type of philosophy, people want to be on your team. People want to work with you on projects. People want to join your initiatives, and they want you to join theirs. And it's very engaging and sustainable.
Interesting. So I got a personal question. Where are you currently most challenged by, as you describe here, engaging each aspect of your life in kindness?
Where am I most personally challenged? You know, this might not be a popular thing to say and put out in the world, but probably my marriage, to be honest. Like, I don't think I'm a bad husband, but I'm not always super kind to the person who's closest to me. She's kind of stuck with me, right? And a lot of times I kind of don't think about what she thinks about things. I give her the offhand comments that I would never give to an employee or a boss. I'm much more intentional at work than I am at home, which is not great, but I don't think it's that out of the ordinary either.
Oh man, if anybody doesn't relate to that, then you are the only screwed up people in the world. I really do appreciate you saying that, because it's like just I think the realities is of an amazing marriage. It's not all amazing. Like, it's not, you don't do everything amazing. You don't do the right thing all the time. And so when people talk about that, I really appreciate that. Because I think anyone that gets honest, if someone says like, oh, my marriage is a piece of cake, kindness is easier. Like, maybe we should talk to your spouse.
Exactly.
That was awesome. Thank you, Tim. I love it that we're kicking off this way.
Yeah, I can't wait. And it's pretty awesome that I'm not in charge of these episodes anymore. I just get to answer your questions. It's way easier.
Oh, so now it's on me? Is that what you're saying?
It's your show.
Let's go. All right. Thank you. Next time.